Hi, I am Stephen J. Cochran, author and game designer. For the last 5 years, I've been working on my latest creation, Morticians, a tabletop role-playing game. On Living with Reaper, we'll be sharing insight into storytelling, the game's design, and lore. So sit back in that recovered lounge chair and crack open a ration. This is Living with Reaper.
Hey, and welcome to this episode of Living with the Reaper. I'm your Reaper, Stephen J. Cochran. How you guys doing today? Cue up some stuff here. All right, still trying to figure out some of these hotkeys and get things going. Today I wanted to talk about writing. You might notice my setup's a little different. Got the mic in the shot this time, and that's because I transitioned the studio over because I'm doing a voice recording for the audiobook of my novel, Alameda novel by me. You can check it out on Amazon, and the Audible version of it will be out soon. I got 2 chapters down so far. You know, it's easier to record. You can knock out a book in about a week if you're interested in doing a voice narration for audiobooks. You could probably do, well, at least one of my smaller novels. You could record it in about a week. The editing, on the other hand, takes another 2 weeks to go through and fine tune everything. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about some of my past products. I mean, if you're a fan of the show, you've been on the you've watched the show several times, you know that we mostly talk about Morticians, and we're going to be talking about Morticians later today, further in the episode. Cox and Media, which is the company I own, we have 2 novels out. The first one is Casper Suburban Scumbag by Abel T. Fletcher, and the other one is Alameda by myself. And they're both available on Amazon and Kindle Direct, if you're interested in checking those out. As you know, our Kickstarter was funded, and we're still working with the manufacturers. They just sent us a proof. We found a couple of issues, so we kicked that back to them, and we're waiting for a response that should be coming at the end of this week. And we're really excited to get that going because we want you to be able to play the game. We want to put it in your hands. For those of you who have access and want to play digitally, either through Roll20 or one of the other VTTs, you can swing over to Drivethru-RPG and download the digital version to get up and going with that encounter box to play with your friends online. And as always, if you like what you see, leave a comment, subscribe, and share with your friends. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about writing and world building, and how do I approach it, or how do I look at things, and how I kind of think about everything that I work on when I'm working on it. I'm currently writing another novel that I'm hoping will be out next year, and Morticians, the novel, is going to be released later this year with the Kickstarter campaign for the core rulebook of Morticians. So be on the lookout for that. But when I'm approaching world building, I do what a lot of artists and writers do. I borrow, I recycle, and I did a lot of that kind of with Morticians, specifically with Sanctuary Valley. So why don't we go over, we're going to go ahead right now, and we're going to transition over to the picture-in-picture. Hey, I'm so tiny. All right, so this is the map of Sanctuary Valley. And this, for a lot of people, they're like, okay, well, this is obviously California. And it was the inspiration for Sanctuary Valley, but we made efforts throughout the core rulebook and the encounter to ensure that even though it was the inspiration for it, you can play Morticians anywhere in the world. You can even play it in your hometown. In fact, we encourage it. Being able to play in your hometown is putting your campaign setting in your hometown is really fun. So here is Sanctuary Valley, and the thing with Krita here is that whenever the mouse is over the artwork, it gets incredibly small, so it's hard to see things sometimes. Let's see here. We'll get over here, and we'll do a little of this. There we go. I can actually see the cursor better now. So here's Sanctuary Valley. I'm going to zoom in here. So Sanctuary City is the kind of the capital. It's the major metropolis that the Morticians call home. Underneath it, you'll see we have the Farmers Federation, and then all the way down here is Union City. We'll scroll back out. Up to the north here, we have the Wall, and the Wall was built and is in the process of being built to keep the northern hordes from moving south and attacking Sanctuary City. Now, throughout the white of the valley here, all of this, we have 4 major locations, with Union City to the south that's run by the Union, the Farmers Federation and their capital, the Hive, and then up north here we also have the Morgue. There are settlements and small surviving communities scattered throughout. So the opportunity to go out exploring within the valley, within your Sanctuary Valley, and interact with people is as varied as your imagination. And I kind of want to do a quick show you what. So here I got this off of Google Maps and borrow and steal, right? So if you look on it, get that cursor back so we can all see. So we got Fresno here in the middle, and that is a sanctuary city in my story. It's my hometown. A lot of what I write and create does revolve around the Central Valley and my home. So I'm going to just scooch down here a little bit, but I'm going to pop over. I'm going to draw some stuff. So, just kind of give you a little outline of what. So here's Sanctuary City, and that's horrible. You guys can't see that for beans. Here we go. Got a little black there. Okay, so there's Sanctuary City. You see my amazing art skills here. And then the Wall. So, when everyone looks at this map, a lot of people assume that in the almost upper left corner here, that's the Bay Area. And it's actually not. If we go back over here, that's this part of the map right here. And so the Wall kind of comes across. Well, the Wall actually doesn't cross that far. The Wall kind of comes across right like that. So there's the Wall down there. And then I've turned Bakersfield. That's our Union City. And the Union City is made up of, we call them union members, and it was basically a group of Teamsters that joined together to survive the zombie apocalypse. We talk about the rule of thirds, and that only 10% of the population survives, and how that kind of played out in the early days. Morticians is 7 years later. So it's not the immediate trauma of the zombie apocalypse, but it is people starting to pull themselves together and starting to move forward and trying to rebuild society. And so Union City, which used to be Bakersfield, for inspiration, is made up of these Teamsters that during the early days of the zombie apocalypse, they pulled together their resources and they worked to strengthen themselves and to build their community. So that's kind of the history with Union City, these Teamsters, and they're organized as a faction, similarly to the democratic process that the Teamsters are organized. They have regional and district presidents, and then they are elected, and they lean heavily on their own factions voting process. Now, in the middle here, right about here, between Sanctuary City and Union City, is the Farmers Federation. Now, the Farmers Federation was the brainchild of a character by the name of Hank Judd. And Hank Judd in the story figured out a way, like he saw what was happening. He had intelligence from business connections he had in Washington, D.C., and so he started to purchase and to create the Hive using his vast wealth. And the Hive isn't democratic. As a faction, they run more like a corporation. In fact, his title, Hank Judd's title as the leader of that faction, is it's pro tempore. It's temporary. He was supposed to be elected president of the board, and then the board was supposed to re-elect a new person in the process, and he's kind of held on to his power through political schemes that way. And so it's the hierarchy structure within the hive. There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of backdoor deals. Nobody can trust one another. There's obfuscation of character, of personality. And it's kind of like in Cyberpunk, you can get away with anything as long as nobody knows about it, right? The big megacorps in Cyberpunk have their plans and machinations, and so there's a constant political struggle going on inside the hive. They also have vast amounts of farmland, so they produce the food. And so the importance of the Union in Bakersfield and the hive in between Sanctuary City is the hive's creating all the food. The Farmers Federation is trying to monopolize feeding everyone. And Bakersfield, if you don't know, actually has oil fields, it has natural gas resources. It had a refinery at one point. So even though nobody there is schooled well enough to mass produce oils, is incredibly hard to acquire fuels and those types of resources. They have tapped into enough of it to control the transportation. So there is the symbiotic, codependent relationship between them. The Union faction isn't really thrilled about the hive because the hive's providing all the food. But not only that, the hive runs on a serfed labor kind of structure. So anyone can join the hive, anyone can join the Farmers Federation, but you have to work your way as a field hand up. And as you can imagine, there is a lot of social economic prejudices that are naturally built into the capitalistic mindset of the hive. And so going from a farmhand up to like a manager or an associate within the organization is incredibly hard. Not impossible, just not very likely. Sanctuary City was saved by a single person who eventually becomes a president. And I keep wanting to say Rodriguez, but it's Ramirez. So President Ramirez, he started as a survivor in Fresno City, and he wasn't anything special. He wasn't like a soldier or anything like that. In fact, his backstory is he's an accountant. But he discovered something in himself during the zombie apocalypse, and he started helping others. And that group of resistance fighters grew and grew and grew until they actually took over all of Fresno City, and they were able to establish it as a safe haven. Now, obviously, Fresno as a major metropolitan area, it doesn't have a lot of immediate food sources. There are some resources there. There's no gas or oil. So once Sanctuary City was established, let's go ahead. We're going to hop back here real quick. Once Sanctuary City was established, they started spreading out, and that's where they found that's where they met the Reaper in the Morticians world, who formed Morticians to go out and help smaller communities and to process the undead as fast as possible, because they are outnumbered by the undead, by the zombie apocalypse. So I want to scooch over here, and I'm having a hard time seeing the bar. Oh, it just did that. Yeah, let's see here. There we go. Come on. Oh, man. Yeah. Zootaloo. Thank you. Okay. So, earlier I was talking a little bit about, stealing. And I mentioned, to the north of the wall. And if you have any questions about the map or locations of the map, go ahead and hit me up in the comments. So the morgue is another location, and I'm holding my cards close regarding the morgue, and the reason for that is I want to slowly develop the morgue through storyline in the novels, it is kind of the home base for the Reaper and the Morticians training camp. And it's the reason why it's so close to the walls, because the Morticians shore up the wall. Their main job when they're not helping others is to defend the wall from the massive Hoard to the north. And so the morgue as the HQ, the head home office, being so readily close, their training grounds, so new initiates can sign up and they join the Morticians faction. And just a little side note. So Sanctuary City with the Morticians expanded out. They found the Farmers Federation and Union City at the same time, and they were fighting with each other over. Well, Union City didn't like the serf method of labor, and the Farmers Federation didn't like that Union City had access to all the fuel, and they wanted control of that. So they were fighting. So when the Morticians met them, they brokered a deal and a truce, and that's how they formed the Central Valley Republic, Sanctuary Valley Republic. Is that we have these factions inside, and under President Ramirez's leadership, they are trying to create a system of governance to rule over the land, to organize broker deals and trade, and to manage resources and people, and to kind of create a sense of law and gathering. And like any new political system, people aren't always working together. Everyone is trying to figure out how to better the guild. And on top of that, these aren't exactly like scholars. There's no Supreme Court justices who survive. There may be one or two lawyers, and everyone's trying to recreate a system of government that they believe is the best way to move forward in Sanctuary Valley. So it is a republic. It is not a democracy. And they are dividing things up into districts so people have representative in the House. And so there is a House, there is a Senate, there is a 3-member Supreme Court that are going, and they are developing it from how they believe it should be developed. And anyone can pick up a copy of the Constitution, but now things are open for debate. It's not exactly their Constitution. It's what the U.S. Constitution used to be. And so people want to challenge that. Well, why are we going to do it this way? We saw how many problems we had with this before. Why don't we change it up? So it is a country. It is a republic in its infancy, and for people who like to play games with a lot of politics, the opportunity to be like, okay, so this is going on. How are you gonna deal with this? How are you gonna play with that? So that's one of the things that's really fun, and I've taken from other role-playing games when I was developing the world is, yes, everyone loves a good combat system. Everyone wants to go out hack and slash. So there's, the combat aspect of the game, but then there's also like the survival horror of it. We call it goofy or gory. And you can see it in our artwork and some of the writing for the Morticians world, where we leave it up for interpretation. One of the things we did with the black and white art was that it allowed you as a player to fill in the gap. So if you wanted it to be really goofy, you could make it really, really silly. If you like gore and horror and you like that feeling of fear deep inside as you slowly open the door to the dark room, hearing the slurping, crunching, chirping sounds in the other room, not knowing what's on the other side of the wall, you can totally go that way with the game. It really is up to your imagination and how deep you want to take things in any direction you want. Kind of lost track of what I was saying. So yeah, it's, Morticians has a whole lot of it has a whole lot of movability It's flexible. That's the word. It's flexibility. Flexibility in how you want to play, how you and your table want to play the game. So, still, I was having this conversation with my wife the other day, and I realized that, a lot of people don't understand or haven't realized. And my wife, and she's been working on this project, the whole time, just, borrowing and stealing and how things were creative. So down here at the South, which would be the grapevine leading into Los Angeles, I call that the necropolis. And in the stories, LA's just lost, and there's just millions of zombies down there. The I-5, the road that leads over the grapevine, was demoed, so it actually cuts off Los Angeles, San Diego, the whole Southern California from the Central Valley, preventing those zombies to move, because the mountain ridge there, called the Grapevine, is full of gorges and caverns and canyons and waterways, and it's incredibly hard for the living to pass through on foot that area, let alone an undead, non-thinking killing machine that would fall and tumble over itself. So we have the necropolis down south. But what I surprised my wife with, and what I wanted to share with you guys today, is this. So over here you'll see the Lords of the Sierras, and it's a biker gang, and it was a minor motorcycle club that has established itself as the motorcycle club gang in the zombie apocalypse, and they've taken up residence in the Sierra Nevadas. Then over here on the coastal region here, we have the Cluster. And the Cluster is a bunch of sheriffs holding on to old world law enforcement doctrines, which declared that in a state of emergency, the sheriff actually controls his county. If martial law is declared, mayors are no longer in charge. The sheriff is in charge. And so it splintered off into smaller groups, and it's divided itself up into these warring city-states that are run by multiple different sheriffs. That's why we got the little star there. And they're holding on to old ideas of structure and democracy. They're very territorial. But so what I pointed out to my wife about this is, borrow, steal from everybody. Just as a writer, when you're creating, just take something someone else did and make it your own. That's been going on within the arts since, the first book was printed. You can see it, art in writing evolves by standing on the shoulders of greater people before you. And we as a society, as the human race, as we push ourselves artistically, we tend to do that. No matter how original your idea is, or you think your idea is, you have created it based off of knowledge that you acquired beforehand, and you are standing upon that knowledge for that creation. So everything is connected in a way. You see this in music. Everything's influenced by something else. You watch artists today as they create music, and they get asked, well, who do you listen to? And they'll give you a list of everyone who inspired them to create. And that inspiration is going to seep into their creation, no matter how original or new that sound is. And so when I divided up this map, and I explained this, so, Sanctuary City, if excuse me, I just had lunch, and so I'm all burpy, so I apologize for that. If Sanctuary City is the heart of a civilized high fantasy game, right? We'll say that instead of being post-apocalyptic zombie apocalypse, it's high fantasy. So this is the kingdom. Everything in white is the kingdom, and you have these high fantasy races. So Sanctuary City is a mixture of everyone, but predominantly the humans. The humans live in Sanctuary City. the Lords of the Sierra here, that's your orcs, right? That's your goblins, your ogres. They're your go-to bad guys. And it's important to note that, like I say, this is like 7 years after. So these are well-established organizations. They've had 7 years to kind of solidify themselves, and they're still growing, they're still changing, they're still learning, but they have solidified themselves. So you have the orcs. I wonder if I could do that. Yeah. Oh, look at that. That's almost legible. So you have your orcs in the Sierra Nevada, the bikers, the rough and tumble, the very tribal, very warlike orcs. Union City are your dwarves. That would be the dwarves. Union City's the dwarves. They're the mechanical, the clinkers, the diggers, the stone cutters. You have an undead city to the south. You have an undead horde to the north. Okay? The morgue in and of itself could be treated like a temple. It is a temple. The cluster, every time I get spam calls like nobody's business. It's absolutely infuriating. The cluster is, I would say, your Highland elves, okay? They're holding on to the old ways, and these tribal elves are fighting amongst each other. The Farmers Federation would be your lowland elves, okay? It's your lowland elves. The Farmers Federation is holding on to old world ideas of structure, power, just the same as the cluster, but they're not as there's not as much infighting, and there's not as much violence as the cluster. So that's kind of how the map, kind of rolls out. And it blew my wife's mind when she realized. She's like, "Oh, really? Get all this off the map." She's like, "Oh, really?" So it's like, yeah, like from day one when I was building the world, I wanted to create enough political diversity so that whoever's sitting in the funeral director seat can play as much as they want. They can create as much story or as little story. And so that's where I say it's like, we've got a little bit of everything, and it's what really makes the game so appealing to a lot of funeral directors is no matter who's sitting at their table, they are able to create something that is fun for everyone. Now, let's see if I can do this real quick. I want to, you know what? I'm going to put my glasses on. I take them off because there's a glare that you guys all see. And, but then I can't read anything, So let's see here. What I wanted to do is I wanted to flip the image. There's the image. And can I flip it? Can I flip it? Can I flip it? Let's see here. I can rotate it. But can I flip it? It doesn't look like I can flip it. That is disappointing. Anywho's, so, I wonder if I could do that. I wonder if I could just go. Yeah, look at that. I was able to do that. That's rad. Let's reverse it. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. We'll just do that. Bam. All right. So, so you throw it around. You throw it in reverse. And there you go. Now it's on the East Coast for those folks out on the East Coast, or maybe this is the East Bank of the Great Lakes. Maybe this is part of Michigan or something, and this is just a little valley tucked into the center. The idea that you can drop Sanctuary Valley anywhere is one of my favorite focal points on creating the game and really making sure that everyone gets a personalized experience playing this game. Because I mean, we all do it. It's the reason why we love all the zombie apocalypse stuff. Like it's look, we all have I assume we all have like bug out bags, right? Like we all sit there and go, well, if the zombie apocalypse happens, I'm going to do this. And for a lot of zombie games, you know, that's the focal point. Is that first year you grabbed your bag, you're out the door. What do you do? Who do you go to? How do you start out? And for Morticians, it really is about, okay, look, you survived the first shock of it all, the first cataclysm. You've endured that, but now what? So are you doing more than surviving? Are you thriving? How does one thrive? My discovery during the pandemic was that growing vegetables was way easier. You know, I always told people, I was like, well, you know, plants want to grow. They're alive. That's what they want to do. They want to sprout. They want to thrive. So all you need to do is throw the seeds in the ground, add some water, and let nature take its course. But I still had this kind of doubt that I could grow crops, and I took on this war garden philosophy in my backyard for the pandemic, and we built several raised bed gardens. And we ended up producing more food than not only my family could eat, but that then we could share with other families. I think we were handing produce out to 6 different families during the height of our season. And we taught ourselves how to can and do other stuff, and looked at, okay, now we definitely could survive. So how do we thrive? How do we grow? And working as a community and sharing that harvest with others kind of brought that into our lives. And we really enjoyed that. I'm going to pop back over here so you're seeing this upside down map. Excuse me. So that's what's going on with the map. And I just wanted to really kind of iterate that the game is really that diverse for locations, even though it was inspired by California. It can be anywhere. And I hope for you backers who got the digital version and are already playing with your friends, have taken the opportunity to create little small encounter one sessions with the resources, and using your local towns as the battleground for your survival. And hit me up on Discord or Instagram. I'd love to see and hear about what campaigns you guys create. So, you know, earlier I did mention the books and doing the audiobooks. So I'm really excited about that. But also, if you're interested in watching gameplay, you can, let's swing back over to here and do a little one of these here. Yeah, just like that. You can check us out on YouTube. We have 3 different games that are on YouTube right now. We have the Wolf Pack, which was shot during the beta testing. We have Ladies of the Hoard, which was shot the first season of Ladies of the Hoard, which was shot for the last 10 months. And now we're doing the Zombie Trail. So if you want to see a little bit of the gameplay, see how people are playing, how the system mechanics work. If you have any questions about what you see, hit us up in the comments. We are available to operators are standing by. Call now. So we'd love to hear, you know, if you guys have any questions or anything. So go ahead and swing by YouTube, Morticians RPG on YouTube, and check out either Ladies of the Hoard, the Zombie Trail, or the Wolf Pack. And I mentioned this before in previous streams, and that is the postmortems. For those fans out there who already watched Ladies of the Hoard and like that, we have postmortem on Patreon. So go over to Patreon and check out our postmortem. And it is hours and hours of video footage of the ladies post-game talking about what they like, what they didn't like, and certain aspects of the game. It's always a good time. They're a lot of fun. And then last but not least, just another quick reminder, we have Drivethru-RPG. If you're interested in trying the game out, go ahead and swing by and get a digital version of Drivethru-RPG and download it today. You'll need to pick up the Funeral Director's Guide, the starting rule set, and the character folios, which are 6 pre-generated characters that we made for the Crossroads, the Introductory Undertaking for the Morticians TTRPG system. As soon as our backers get their encounter box, which will be happening soon, we will be available to sell the encounter box for you guys. So anyone who's interested in purchasing their own physical copy of Crossroads, the Introductory Undertaking, we will have that up on our website. But not only that, a local game shop that I work very, very closely with, the dragonshoardstore.com. The Dragons Hoard's right here in Fresno, California, off of Bullard and Marks. They're a really fantastic couple who run a really great game shop. I'm a big fan of backing local game shops. Once we get our physical copies, I know they are eager to sell the box set in their store. And if you're not in the Fresno area and you're interested in the box set, go ahead and talk to your local game shop and have them reach out to us. And we'd be happy to start shipping boxes once available to them as well. And I think that's going to be it for today. I know it's kind of a short episode. I think where were we at here? 40 minutes. Cut in about 20 minutes early. And I'm always excited to do this. But I ran out of things to talk about today. There you go. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Again, if you like it, hit the like button, share, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. Hit the hearts and thumbs and stars and bells and whistles. Hey, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Peace.